Hello, and thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the She Means Business podcast, where we bring together badass women business owners, industry leaders, and other aspiring women to celebrate their success and empower you. I am your host, Ashley Mastowski. I'm a business owner, wife, and mom of twin toddlers. Ambitious is my middle name. Join our email list and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. You'll find inspiring content, updates, and the chance to connect with like-minded individuals. Remember to leave a review and share how we've inspired you. Now, let's get to business. Hello, and welcome to the She Means Business podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Mastowski. Today, I'm super excited because I have a guest that reached out to me about the podcast. And after I saw what her company was and what she did, I was immediately like, she has to be on. So she is a fellow curly hair girl. We are in our own little world because people do not understand what we go through on a day-to-day basis. And I will admit, it took me a good probably 30 years to finally accept this crazy mane of curls and finally learn how to handle it per se. However, my daughter, who's 2.5, is blessed with my hair. So I'm really excited that I can give her, some sort of tools. But let's jump into it. She came from corporate America, took the leap into entrepreneurship, which is always one of my favorite super stories to hear. So welcome Lisa Kelly of the Curly Life Company. Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much, Ashley. And it's true. When you see a fellow curly girl, there is an instant connection.
Yes.
You know that you can stop and talk products, and it's just understood that advice and help will be given.
Absolutely. And just to kind of eliminate any questions out there are a million products for curly girls. I would say probably 10% of them work. Would you agree?
I would. And
you're like, that's why I was born.
and we have tried them all, I'm sure. I'm sure you have.
I have spent thousands of dollars probably at this point in my life of what the heck works, how it works. Some make it super greasy. Some, like even today, I'm not having the best day. I was really trying to get like an actual good curly day for you. But I'm like, my household was just sick, all 4 of us.
Oh.
So this was the best that I'm working with right now. I was like, you know what? She's going to get half of it.
Hey, that is the nature of the curl. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. It's funny because every time you go get cut, they're always like, well, how do you want it cut? And I'm like, it does its own thing. Some days it parts here, some days here. Maybe the other day it's going to be over on the other side. So this whole, thing with the Gen whoever XZ who says, not to do the part in the middle, or that's the new thing to do. I'm like, look, my hair does what it wants to do. I don't have that choice.
There's no day after day, same side. Yeah, no.
Which is also the benefit, right? Like, we don't, sometimes those are the pros and cons. I'm like, it just does. It's its own personality is what I've learned.
Right. For years, I know that going to get a cut, people would be very anxious about the cut, and I would. Yes, I've had my hair destroyed by bad haircuts.
Yes.
But also, it has to be pretty bad for it to show up. Yeah, exactly. Because there's a lot going on.
It covers the imperfections, so we're good.
I can cover up a lot. So
for sure. Well,
that helps too.
Let's hear your story. What I know you started in corporate America. What got you there? Kind of tell us your story.
Yeah. I'm sure many of us grew up with the admonition to get a good job, and
money.
I tell you, it was a tremendous benefit to me, and I'm very grateful for the time that I had. It was a wonderful company, and no regrets at all. Just a fantastic time, great people, and but when I did have when I did get hit by a round of layoffs, I dodged them for 11 years. Every year they came
Wow.
around. Um,
That's a good timeline.
right? It was right before Christmas. That was the one thing that was tough.
Ooh.
Every Christmas, you're like,
Ooh.
I may not have a job. So it slowed down your
Yeah.
Christmas spending. But
Hey, I
uh,
mean,
and that was also there was the stress of that, right? The stress of
yeah.
you're working at somebody else's whim.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
can pull the plug at any time. And
Hmm.
so when the plug does get pulled, it had been on my mind that it's like, boy, I'd love to get out of that situation. I
Yeah.
would rather be in charge of whether or not I'm going to have a paycheck.
Right. A little bit
And
more control.
yes, and had this idea, had it percolating for a little while, um, and talked to some people, and it's one of those crossroads moments in your life, where you have the right conversation with the right person, and
Ah, very true.
you say the
Hmm.
goofy thing you've been afraid of saying out loud,
Yep.
and they don't laugh, you know?
You're like, wait a minute. It was
Yeah.
the right person to really say it to. So did you have this struggle then yourself all, I want to make sure I'm not alone here, but like all growing up, is that something, are you the only curly girl hair, curly girl in your
In my
family?
family? Well,
Mm-hmm.
I am. And
Okay.
the first 11, 12 years of my life, it was straight blonde hair, no problem.
Really?
Yes. And then hormones hit. And
Mm.
and then
Hmm.
the waves started up here, but I still had the long hair, so it's kind of pulled it out. And then I got a short haircut. I got the Dorothy Hamill wedge, super short. It was super
Yep.
cute on her. Did not work on me. Um,
I
so I
think we've
went
all
from
had a cut at some point that we're like,
I
what?
I went
What?
from like a no maintenance haircut, which I'd come home from school, I'd stick a barrette to keep my hair out of my eyes and go climb a tree. And then
Yep.
it became like I was supposed to use a curling iron and I didn't even own one. I didn't know what to do. So honest to goodness, I got a handkerchief and I wore the handkerchief for about a year because I didn't want to be bothered with what was going on my head. I had things to do. So
I'm a girl on a mission, and I'm
I,
not letting this hair get in my way.
and it killed my mom. It killed my mom. She's a put together person. We are a put together family. I was way outside of the norm, wearing my handkerchief all over the place. But anyway, eventually I did, then start going down the path that I'm sure you went down to try and, how can I straighten it? How can I smooth it? How can I keep it from frizzing out?
Hmm.
And I just thought, I'm defective. I clearly, at the
Mm.
same time, the crooked teeth came in and I needed braces. So
God, that's
it was
such a
just like
tough
that
time
in
in
my
life,
mind.
right? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like these need to be fixed. This needs to be fixed. I need to be fixed. And
Hmm.
so yeah, years of wishing I had, the Farrah Fawcett feathers
Yep.
and
Yep.
not embracing curls at all. I didn't even know it was curly. I just thought it was a frizzy mess. And
Yep.
I was in my 20s and I was in a car accident that thankfully was not serious,
Oh, good.
but was serious enough to make my shoulders really sore. And so the next morning after the accident, I had washed my hair, but I could not hold a blow dryer and pull it out straight the way I usually do. So for the first time, it air dried untouched. I had to go to work and I couldn't touch it. I was working. And it air dried untouched, and all afternoon I got compliments on my new perm. So that
That's awesome.
that was when I
That
was
is
like,
awesome.
"Well, I've got curls."
Yeah.
And then the other side of the story. Yeah, beautiful one day and chaos the next. You're not sure
Yep.
what's going to happen.
Yep.
And
It's
then
its
the
own
journey of
personality.
1,000 products begins with,
Yep.
your first
Yep.
step.
Yep.
And
Well,
so
my mom, we don't even know where my curly hair came from. My grandma had wavy hair. Mine
yeah,
are like tight ringlets. I know you can't really
I can
tell right
see though.
now,
I
but
can see.
yes, like they are tight ringlets. And we call them boing boings as kids because you'd
Yeah.
literally pull it and it'd boing right back.
And it would point up.
Yep. My cousin also had my hair. So
Really?
me and my cousin, nobody else. And then in all of my photos growing up, my mom had the short hair. She had the perm to match me. so she paid for hers. And I was like, that's
Yeah.
when perms were really popular. Although I've heard they're coming back. And so
Yeah.
but nobody knew how to make, like, my mom didn't know what to do. My mom didn't know,
Yeah.
anything. And so at least I'm smart enough now with my daughter. You don't, like, every time somebody comes and stays with me, they always ask for a brush. And I'm like, I don't own a brush. And they think it's the most craziest thing. And I'm like, you don't brush curly hair. It took me
Yeah.
30 years to learn that, but you just finger brush it. Like, you don't
Yeah.
actually brush it. It makes it worse. But see, I had the opposite of you. I was in sports all growing up. And so for me, and I was a swimmer. So I actually dealt with the greasy, like, blonde, yucky hair from all the chlorine. And I just always pulled it back because I was a tomboy. I had some sport that was going on year round. And so I never wore my hair down. It was still long. I refused to cut it short. Well, it was short up until a certain point when I finally stopped listening to my mom, but I, kept it long. And so you go through a lot. Like, it is a mental, kind of just an emotional journey too. Like, you don't know how you're different than everybody else, because most people have straight hair. It's a whole different just experience, really. And it makes you question sometimes, especially at that age that you're in life, like, why am I different? And then you, like you said, you kind of blame everything, and then now you're picking everything out. So I love that you decided to wear it to work, and now you got all the compliments. I love that piece of it.
Yeah, right. I didn't have a
Shift.
choice.
Mm-mm.
It was just like, I can't do it. I can't get my hands up there. So, but I love what you're saying. It's so true. It's this quiet journey that every preteen and teenager goes through, right? This quiet internal journey they're on,
You're
where,
comparing, you see everybody, you're like,
you don't.
and it's the typical, like, everybody wants curly hair that has straight hair. Everybody that has straight hair wants curly hair. But luckily for me, I didn't care enough that I wouldn't put in the extra time to straighten my hair. It takes a good 30 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes, because I have really thin hair, to straighten it. And I prefer my sleep. So I'm like, it is what it is. I'm just going to throw it up in a bun.
Yeah. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it was, and but what's great about what you're saying is, go forward to, okay, made it into the corporate world working. I'm in my 50s. Here I am at the crossroads. And I'm still thinking, by then I'm thinking, it's so wrong that I'm in my 50s and I still don't have this figured out. I'm still not just like, okay, hair's done, boom, out the door, thinking about more significant things. Like, I really shouldn't be having the same
And it just
struggles.
talks to you. It just sits back there, like,
Yeah.
kind of nudges you, but you're like, and then it kind of nudges you again.
And when
And
you're
then, like you
13,
said, then you,
okay, when
yeah,
you're 57, this should not be happening.
right.
So,
Yep.
so that was really, and at the time was earlier in my 50s, but that was really the impetus, is like, oh my gosh, I'm too old for this, and if I feel this way, I know a lot of other people do. I just want something to help me style different parts of my hair. And I want to, work on better products, at least use my decades of experience and the trial and error I've had, so that I can pull through and present product combinations that will give better results to people, lasting results. So yeah, that became my mission. And
I'm just imagining myself, how do you even, like, go from corporate America to, I want, like, hair products. I want to get in the hair. Like, to me, I can't. I'm sitting here thinking, as you're telling the story, I'm like, I've always thought the same thoughts you have, but I would never in my mind go, I'm going to create my own curly health hair formula and products to work? Like,
Yeah.
how do you bridge that? Like, did you find
Yeah.
like maybe that's some what you did at corporate? I don't know. Can you kind of talk about how
No.
you even decided to make that jump?
The first thing, so the styler, right, is our flagship product, the thing that
Okay.
got us noticed, I guess, right? And this was, I designed this. It has the smooth pins, I call them. Everything's made of plastic on purpose, so because metal can really hurt your curls.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
lightweight, and it's just a style. The roots of your curls, it can slide in, it can slide
So
out.
that helps with volume.
Exactly. Because I would be flat on top, or
Mm.
they'd be doing this weird
That's my
thing.
issue is I'm always flat on top. And so I'm like, meh. And then it kind of, I'm like, I need oomph right
Yeah.
here.
And
Ah,
yeah, so
okay.
this is to touch up those areas. You can see I got some
Yep.
lift here, and you
Yeah.
can do a refresh later with a spritz of even some spray. We have a finishing touch spray or any spray you've got, and or a gel. And yeah, it's wonderful, and it doesn't mess up the
Wow.
rest of your curls. They're doing their thing. You're just spot styling where you need it. Um,
Okay. And listeners, just so you know, you can find us on YouTube so you can actually see the video and this tool, but we'll have
oh,
posts with links later too. But
good
yes. Oh
point.
my gosh.
And but so this started with drawings, and was at Michael's craft store with
Oh
clay
my
and
gosh.
knitting needles.
That
And
is
then
awesome.
then it was dowels and a drill. Then I had to get a drill press to get them in straight. Um, and then I had really had my prototypes, and then I started working with reaching out to design companies, and everything was just it was a numbers game of
Wow.
researching online and making phone calls. um, I found a
Yeah.
lot of incredibly generous people in terms of sharing their knowledge. I'd call and say,
Yeah.
"This is what I'm trying to do," and they would say, "I can help you," or "I have no idea how to do that," or "You're going to need to take this step and this step," or it was a long
Yeah.
time of many iterations of going down that
Wow.
path of like, okay, I have no
Hmm.
idea how to do this,
Hmm.
but I'll keep calling and reading and checking and just figure
That's
it out.
determination right now. And I love, like, I watch Shark Tank all the time, and I love the stories of the people that did exactly what you did. It is so cool to me. There is so much more respect because you just kept moving. You just kept figuring it out. I'm going to make it better. Now I'm going to go wow. I'm so oh, that's so cool. I love hearing these stories because honestly, I'll be honest, that's probably, I love hearing these stories because honestly, I'm too impatient. I probably would have never put the time in. I guess we all do it in our passion. I
Yeah,
kind of do that with my insurance agency. I am constantly changing and doing processes and whatnot, but it's not a
yeah.
product like you. That's so cool. Like,
It
so much
was
more respect that you have the tenacity to just keep at it and keep going.
it was
I love it.
and there were big setbacks, especially if
Hmm.
you're trying to uh, reach out to people to tell them, hey, take the leap or take the step or try it out a little bit on the side or do a little bit of research and don't be deterred. I had
Yeah.
some major setbacks in design. I had um, thousands of hours and dollars invested in a particular design, and then I found out an aspect of it could not be um, created. It couldn't be machined at any reasonable cost.
Mm.
And it was a week of, I can't believe
Really?
this. I
Yeah.
can't believe this.
Yeah.
I don't think,
Yeah.
how do I go on
Back to
from
the
here?
square one. Right.
Yeah,
You're like, I finally thought,
literally. Yeah.
wow.
And, but I'll tell you this, and this really helped me so much. And even in the last month, I've had stuff come up where when it gets really tough, and seemingly impossible, that is when I tell myself, this is why I have a chance because it's not easy. It's hard to do. And most people aren't going to get past this point.
Nope. Yep.
So this is why I've got a shot because
I
I
love
don't know
that.
what I'm
Yes,
doing,
so true.
but I will
Yep.
not stop.
Hmm.
So,
Good
uh,
for you.
so that's really kept me going along the way. It's like, okay, if it seems impossible and I'm about done, that's when I say, you know what? This is why I have a chance. So
There's
be
always a
grateful for
lesson in
this.
everything, in every story, in every part of the story. There is
Yeah.
always some lesson. And you just have to, sometimes we just have to pause, reflect. Doesn't matter how frustrated or pissed off or, we are, there's always that lesson. And then you have to, then you can, move on. Okay. What did I
Yeah.
learn? What can I take from it? And how can I get better? Or how can I do it differently? Or even sometimes it's not even that, it's just what did I learn? So yeah,
Yeah. The old saying, if it was easy, everyone would do it. So,
that's true.
it's
That
like,
is very true.
yeah.
Did you ever run into, and I only am asking this question because I watch Shark Tank all the time, like I said, but did you ever come across or deal with patent issues, or did you get patented? How does that process, like, when, because I've never made or been in the product business. I've always been in this, well, I guess I have in my past life, but um, is there, like, did you have to always cross check? How did that part work?
I applied for patent um, almost right away.
Okay.
Uh, I felt like that was a key.
Okay.
And I applied for it under a few different variations on the pin design. Um, and then also after I arrived at this design, I did apply for a design patent, which helps protect me from offshore duplication, just
Okay.
people making
Yep.
absolute copies, exact copies.
Got it.
Um,
Okay.
so that's registered at the borders. I don't know how that's enforced, but you go through
I
the
mean, look at all
steps.
the handbags and everything that come across. I'm sure there's
Yeah,
no full way to do it, but
right.
at
So
least you have something to fall back on if it's,
yeah, you go through the
super
steps.
vain.
I did get a patent for a particular arrangement of the pins. Um, but there were earlier designs similar to this, all the way
Mm,
back to one carved out of wood, way
wow.
back. So,
Ah,
um, uh, and so that was interesting to do that kind of research, and
do
I
patents
really
stay
enjoyed that part.
indefinitely?
What's
Is
that?
that do patents stay indefinitely?
No, they only last so long, but the record of
Okay.
them stays. So
That's so
they
cool.
expire.
Okay.
They're only limiting to other people for a certain amount of time, and
Okay.
they expire from that perspective. But you can go look at any
That's
patent
so
that's been
cool.
out there.
I'm sure that was really intriguing, that process going through to
Yeah,
see,
just
like,
learning
okay,
that,
this is where we're
right?
at. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, that's
and then
awesome.
you can more recent patents, you can dig into the people who applied for them a little bit, not a lot, right? But that was interesting. I came across some that other women had applied for that weren't related to
Oh,
this, but uh, I found that inspiring too. You just go
yeah.
into areas you've never touched in your whole life,
I
and
might have to go down that rabbit hole one day and just
yeah,
browse and see what's out there.
yeah, you
That's
learn a little
awesome.
bit about
Yeah.
all kinds of things you couldn't imagine.
Yep.
Um, One of the most a very big moment was I reached out to a gentleman who was a plastics expert, and he gave me 45 minutes of his time. And he's a nationally renowned plastic expert. He actually was a plastic expert on a trial, a major trial with medical plastics, etc. But anyway, I called him, got his number online, called him to ask him. I needed particular tensile strength for the pins. It couldn't just be any old plastic.
Mm-hmm.
And we spoke for 45 minutes. And he then sent me portions of a deck that he had with all the specs that would help me. And
I love hearing that. That
yeah,
there are people out there don't know you from Joe next door and willing to give you some of their, that's, I bet you that was really cool for him too, though. That is so
I
cool.
hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it blew me away. It's just. he absolutely, an absolute expert in his field and willing to take the time to explain things to me and then to send me the actual information. And it made all the difference, made a big difference. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's out there. You've got to put the time in
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
pursue. You can't
So
call and just
here's
say,
right. And here's a question for you because I'm loving this journey that you're on. Are you doing this while in corporate America, or did you take the leap and then just did this full time because you had money saved up? Like how did you decide, like, where were you at? Because this seems like a lot of work. Like,
yeah,
but then it sounds like overtime.
at one point, I finally had to say, I can't
Okay.
do both. So
Yes.
I had left I had gotten laid off. And then I took two interim jobs. One
Mhm.
was very brief. The other one they were both pretty short, right? Because they were just like, okay, I need something.
Right.
Um, and, uh, and then I was working on this idea and then I was at that point of like, you know what? I'm going to go for it. And I definitely got advice from people. It's like, can't you just do it on the weekends? And I realized, no, it'll never
No.
happen. It will never
Yep.
happen. And I know you have to be very careful before you
Hmm.
walk away from your guaranteed paycheck.
Yep.
You must be very careful. But I had reached a point where I felt
Yeah.
like now's the time. Now's the
Yep.
time. I'm going all in,
That's awesome.
and I treated it like a full-time job. I was at it
Yeah.
7 days a week sometimes. So I
I think
tried to.
all business owners at some point, I have a friend of mine wrote a book, Work Life Harmony. It's not balance, it's being able to intermix them both, right?
Oh, I
And
love that.
yes, it's out there. It's by Grant Botma. It's awesome because there's nothing wrong with working on the weekends if that gave you the freedom and flexibility during the weekdays. I mean, it really is more about harmony and making them all work together because that's why we
Yeah.
became business owners, right? Like we want that flexibility and freedom. And so to me, I'm like, I love the word balance. I'm a big, that's kind of how I was raised and how my mom taught me. And you do have to have a sort of balance. But at the same time, I'm like, no, harmony really makes sense because it's all inner working, right? You have
Yeah.
seasons where your job is extra demanding, but then you have seasons where you can offset it and,
There's a,
take the extra time with your family. So I've always loved, reading that book, and it totally was exactly, it's like the bell rang in my head, like, oh, this is exactly it. I just couldn't articulate it
it
very
really,
well.
don't you love it when
So
you find things like that?
yes, you're like,
Yeah.
that's it.
Really
So yeah.
resonated with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is really cool. So you get to the point where, you're talking to all these people and you finally have this product, right? So how do you decide, all right, I'm ready to go to market. Who am I targeting? What am I doing? So kind of take me
Well,
down that road.
I I felt like I really knew my audience, right? So I had that edge. And I had built a basic website and I wanted to launch on Amazon. And
Mm,
so so I had the product, had it in boxes, and the Wednesday before Thanksgiving of I think it was 2021, had it available and had it out there. And I went to sleep that night, and honest to God, I thought I'd wake up and be like, "Oh, look at all the orders." And there's
it's
nothing.
always our dream, right?
There's nothing.
No.
So that month, I sold three, and it was to
Oh.
family. So and then December, I sold 12, and that was to family, friends, and one stranger.
All
So
right.
that was
So you just got
big,
to take that momentum.
right?
And you
And then
don't give up.
January was 39, and they were all strangers. And February was
Wow.
120, and March was 2,000. So
Wow. I
we
just
were up
got
and running.
goosebumps.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's awesome. And what did you do that made that jump? Or was it just letting algorithms and things on the internet do do its thing.
Was figuring out some advertising.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It was
That's a
figuring out
lot.
some advertising. I
Yeah.
got some good advice on that. And I would tell people, just be persistent. If you get some advice and you start with that and you're not getting results, definitely ask for other advice, seek other advice,
And
and
you know what, though? I
try different
also
things.
believe, yeah, and I also believe that if you go to market and then the next day, like, could you imagine being able to even field 2,000 on the first day that like, you'd be in over your head, right? So it was a nice, like, progression of like, okay, I can do this. Okay, now I got to make it a little bit more streamlined and easy. Okay, I'm going to do this. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I package and ship this?
Yeah.
It gives you that couple months buffer. So you're not like, I'm sure it was still probably crazy to do 2,000,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like at least you had a little bit of, wiggle room, but that's an awesome jump in 4 months. That is sweet.
It was amazing. And then things cooled off. Then the iPhone operating system changes went through, all meta advertising changed, the ROAs dramatically went down, so we had those 2 amazing months, and I've been chasing those months ever since.
I hear
So,
you.
but
It happens in any business.
that's the fun of it, though.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we've never gone back to the beginning. We've had,
Yep.
we've now sold, we're now at like, I think we're at 38,000 orders
That's
now.
awesome.
So,
That is awesome.
we're
But your
here to
marketing
stay.
isn't getting to curly girls in Las Vegas. So I'm just putting that out there. So we need to readjust the algorithm, but that's probably what led you to me and to Instagram, because that's how we met, right? So
Yeah.
after this podcast, you better bet, you guarantee you're going to have another sale of several items. Because I am all for supporting, and I'm like, anything that gives me volume up top and keeps these girls going.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. And there's,
so you yeah. No, go ahead.
I was going to say there's a little technique to it. So, definitely check out our how-to video on the website. And we got some on YouTube, some, and don't be afraid of gel. You need gel.
Yeah. Yeah. You do. You know what? There's some people out there, some products, I should say products, not people, that you're like, what, you don't need gel. Just put this on in the shower. And I'm like, do you not deal with frizz? Because I don't.
Yeah.
I'm in a dry climate in Vegas and I still have frizz. So I'm like, Now I like the gel that's not as crunchy as others, but I'm like, no, you still need it.
Now, so I'm going to tell you this about that.
Okay.
A good gel cast, I was afraid of it for years. Mm-hmm. And then I had my breakthrough moment of scrunching out that cast.
Yeah.
If you can get a good crunchy finish, let it dry completely, and then scrunch it out, you will have defined curls that last for days.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
See, and I don't
Give
care
it a try.
how many hairstylists you go to that specialize in curly hair. They always make it look great afterwards, but it just took 2 hours and they explain what they're using. And I love the products that they're using. I somehow get suckered into buying the products and I can never make it look the same as they made it.
Exactly the same.
Because this mom does not spend more than on shower or like hair washing days. I will not spend more than 15 minutes styling. I need to get out the door. I like my sleep. It is what it is. So I need it simple.
Yeah, you need a quick, simple, get some volume going. That's what that's my favorite thing is like do a little bit up here, let the other stuff scrunch and get big and be on my way and not have to look back. Yeah. It's the goal.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Right?
Okay.
That's the goal.
Okay. We'll do you know what we're going to have to do? We're going to do a follow-up podcast.
Okay.
I will come with it all done with your stuff and you can see, okay, did I really butcher it? Did I not butcher it? Did I nail it?
Or we can just Zoom and do it together.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
That'll
Well,
be
that is
good.
awesome. And so you've been doing this since 2021. Did I get that date right? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And
That is so cool. So where's your big, is it still just big online? Are you doing like, what's your big marketing plan and where you get most of your sales from?
right now it's about 50-50 for between my website and Amazon, which a lot of people
Awesome.
will tell you is very, very rare. Most people get all their sales from Amazon, or the
Yeah.
majority.
Yeah.
So I try and I like that. Of course, I can provide better support through my website, and my margins are better through my website. So
You know what? I was just going to ask because this is just me as a business person. I never know. I'm assuming Amazon always takes a cut, or it's more whole. So you do make more when you're direct to consumer versus
yeah,
Amazon.
yeah,
Okay. I didn't know if like you mark it up to I didn't know how that worked, when you're going to
you
sell.
could.
Yeah.
I don't have the same price across both,
Hmm.
but Amazon takes their cut. I don't resent it because Amazon puts me on the shelf of the biggest store in the world.
Yeah.
So shelf
You know
space is
what?
expensive.
Honestly, there are times I'm glad you said that because I always tend to, for example, over the weekend, my friend and I were talking about the sleeping magnesium for sleep. And
Yeah.
my kids, I use Mary Ruth's like product line of a lot of stuff. And so we're on
Okay.
Amazon and I was like, but I needed to confirm what specific product she was talking to me about. And I was like, it didn't look right on Amazon. So I'm like, I just went and it's 20% off on their website. I was like, if I was out of it, like right then and there, honestly, I'd probably go to Amazon because I'm just being impatient and I need it right now. But something just told me like, no, just order it from them. So that makes me feel a little bit better at knowing. But there's
Yeah.
obviously certain times that you're like, no, I need it yesterday.
And yeah. Yeah. No, I think it depends on how the business is set up. Some businesses have completely embraced
True.
that, their fulfillment, and they just want it run through there. And you'll pick
True.
that up when you're on their website. You'll realize it's not
Yeah.
super easy on the website. But I think
Yeah. If it
on
doesn't
most of
say
them,
Prime next to it, I'm like,
yeah,
I'll fight it.
on most of them, it's you're doing the business a favor on a lot of them if you purchase from the website.
Yeah,
But
that's awesome. Okay, that's good to
yeah,
know, and I'm glad everybody knows. I always try to support businesses, and Amazon's still supporting, like you said, and it gives the platform for that business. So there's nothing wrong with it, but a little bit more money in the pocket for the
yeah.
owners.
And
That's good to know.
if you like the product, um, definitely go out to Amazon and give it a thumbs up and a
Oh, a
comment.
review.
It's um, it's crazy how powerful a bad comment is, and um, I
Hmm.
would say keep that in mind as well. If I've talked to other small business owners, if you don't like something, um, keep in mind the scale you're using when you give your score, because it can be devastating. And maybe you just
Hmm.
had a bad day and you're like, yeah, I didn't care for this at all, and you give it a 1 star, and it's like you may throw off somebody's sales for
Yeah,
quite a long time,
yeah.
and you just don't understand the impact you have.
I
It's
rarely ever try to leave a negative review because as a small business owner myself, it is very impactful. Um, Honestly, I think I have left some negative reviews, but it was like to the point of I've given them multiple chances and they
to
still have
fix it.
yet to fix
Yeah,
it. And it
yeah,
really was like I knew it wasn't my fault. I tried to call, I tried to get it
yeah,
right. Maybe it was my fault and I'm doing something wrong. Allow me to fix it. Do that once I've gotten multiple times, but I really try not to be negative. But at the end of the day, I feel like it should be public knowledge if I've gone above and beyond to try to fix it.
yeah,
And I'm in the
right.
service industry, so shame on, you know, those people and that poor customer service because I'm really going to judge you on that
It's
because that to
right.
me, I will pay more money for better service and with anything. And I know that's not a lot of people's MO. And so I really try to go above and beyond, but it's really impactful. And, as a business owner, those 5 stars that we get for our agency are massively influential in showing up on
Right.
Google when other people are searching. I can't tell you how many people have said when we ask them how they heard about us, they say Google and they say all of our positive reviews. Like, I think there's 1 or 2 maybe that are negative, but there was when you read the comment, it was like, clearly it was nothing to do with us. They were probably having a bad day, or,
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was nothing related to the business and they were just, being them.
Yeah.
But you can read through that as a consumer. So we're like, yeah, we're good.
But it's funny. It's almost like I think everybody should at some point be a waitress or a waiter in their life. And I think at some
100%.
point everybody should be a small business owner in their life, because you're on the other side of a coin, that you
Yep.
the other side of an experience.
I say to this day, I'm very true to this, is the most powerful and respectable CEOs are the ones that started from ground zero, right? They were if you're a CEO of a big grocery firm, a grocery store, you were a bagger at one point. You were a cashier. You were in the grind. But sometimes I feel like it's been so long that maybe, every era, like every, decade kind of has its shifts of people you're dealing with. So maybe
That's a good point.
Yep. You should shift yourself back there. And now you're a, 30 or 40-year-old woman or man, and you haven't been a bagger or a checker since, you were in your teens. Maybe you should adjust and get
dip
back
your
there.
toe back in that pool.
Exactly.
And it's funny though, I had fulfillment company handling all my fulfillment, and some things shifted, and I took back some of the fulfillment of the hair care products.
Mm-hmm.
And that was great. Talking about getting back into things, it just made me think of, it's like sometimes it's good to dive back into something that you've moved off your plate, because it's changed my approach to, how I'm thinking about the packaging. It's some of the filler we were using is we're not using anymore. And, but it leads you to take a step up. So yeah, it's always good to circle back around.
You're totally right. I haven't quoted people I do it here and there, but when you're putting together the SOPs and the processes, like, I need to physically do it. It might sound good if you're not actually in the nitty gritty, and this is what it thinks. But when you actually are training somebody, you're like, oh yeah, it doesn't work that way. It looked smooth. But then when you're actually in it, doing it, you're like, oh yeah. So I tend to, I have a couple quotes that I'm working on right now that I normally wouldn't and would pass off, but I'm like, you know what? I need to keep refreshed. I need to make sure, the process and procedure is still, there's always going to be hiccups and changes as things evolve. So I'm like, it's good to, ground yourself and get back in that mess versus just always high level. So I think that's what makes the higher level, makes you really succeed, is I can do it all and I get back in the nitty gritty, here and there. I think you're totally right. You nailed it.
It makes a difference.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you do. You've got your hands full. You're doing a lot of amazing things.
Thank you. It's, you know what? I'm one of those, like, I think I thrive in chaos. I love, like, the busier I am, the better I am. I don't know how to say that. I don't know if that's even a thing, but I'm like, no, I feel like it just makes me it forces me to be more organized. The more lax I become, I just am too lax, and it's almost like I let things slide. I don't, things become more chaotic because they are lax. I don't know. It's what it is.
You like to be running.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Even though there's a lot of days that I'm like, I just want to call off work, turn on the TV, or read a good book and not move from this couch all day.
Right? It sounds so good.
We're allowed to have those. I know. But then you're bored. Like, I was sick and I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to use this to read and, to recover. And I'm like, no, I'm bored. I'm just going to pull out my computer and work, because
maybe just do a little work.
Waste time.
Just a little. Back to that harmony, right?
Yes. Exactly.
I need some harmony.
Exactly. Yes. Well, I am super excited. This has been awesome to learn your journey, especially with a product, which I'm not used to, learning, and a product that you've created. That's so awesome. And I am really excited to try them all.
That's what, yeah, I
And
really love encouraging people to think about. It's like, I
yeah,
wasn't a product
I would have never
designer. I
thought.
wasn't a designer of any kind, but if you have an
You figured
idea,
it
you
out.
can go for it. And
Yeah.
then we didn't even talk about the hair care products. So,
So then you started with that one product, and then you were like, okay, there's more. Now I'm going to
yeah,
go into the actual hair care.
right? Once you get started, why
Yeah.
stop?
No, exactly. Well, and then it gives you a more well-rounded business too. Like maybe somebody doesn't want to use, what do you actually call it?
The
I would say the
Abanachi
lawn.
styler,
Okay, say that again.
Abanachi styler.
Banachi styler. Okay.
Yes.
Where did that name come from?
It's based on Fibonacci's spiral.
Okay.
Um, I don't know if that might tickle something in the back of your brain, but Fibonacci was a mathematician hundreds of years ago who was able to come up with the mathematical equation that can be ascribed to every spiral in nature. And
Okay.
galaxies, ferns, nautilus shells, they all have the same ratios.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool. Okay. So now you have the styler, and then you have all the products to go along with it.
Right. We got our shampoo and conditioner and our four
Okay.
styling products. And yeah,
That is
we're looking to
awesome.
expand later this year and into next year. So
Awesome. Now, are you only in the US or can you go outside? How does that work?
we ship to Australia, the UK, Germany, and Canada pretty much weekly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. That's
Yeah.
really cool. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
see to
That's
be
been
Vegas.
exciting. That was fun when we broke through
That's
that
awesome.
into that area. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so cool. I'm excited to go online. I just love reading about it, especially something that I struggle with daily. To be like, now, do you use the Abanachi styler like even on your day 2, 3, 4 hair?
I'll do it for a touch up
Okay.
because a lot of times when I'm doing a refresh, if
Yep.
I'm doing some strands, because some strands get a little frizzy, so
Sure.
you'll wet them up
Yep.
or spray. And then
Yep.
if something's out of whack up here, I might
Yep.
spritz it and then just do a quick touch with the
Okay.
uh, diffuser and the styler to just kind of
Yep.
get things going where I want. Sometimes I'll do a
Awesome.
whole like decide I'm going to flip it to a different side, so I need to just touch up a few spots. So
That's
I'll
so
use it
cool.
on refresh days. Sometimes I'll even use it to if I need to like wrap a curl. It's a
Sure.
quick wrap to just
Yep.
make the curl shape. Other people
Yep.
finger style, which
Yeah.
sometimes I'm successful at.
I'm never. I'm never. There's like this one straight ish, and then it curls at the end, and it's usually right around my head, up like my
Yeah,
face. I'm like, oh, for crying out loud. And then that's the day that I just put it all up. I'm like, and
yeah, yeah. I'm a pineapple girl very
yep,
often. Yeah.
yep, yep. I'm like, nope, not even tried. Which is why every time I go for a haircut, I'm like, just keep it long enough to go in a ponytail because I have a lot of those days.
Yes, yeah. Never cut it
Not
shorter
to
than that.
mention in the summer months, I tend to wear it up more because it is just hotter than heck here. And having
Yeah,
hair on my neck, I don't care how I look. That is just not working for me. And it's always like not practical.
right? That dry heat thing, forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah, heat is heat. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's heat.
exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm excited because now I'm like itching to go on YouTube. I did like look a lot of it before, before our podcast here. But now I have like a whole different like take on it. So now I'm going to go onto YouTube and your website and I'll make sure
Oh,
to link
good.
it. Um, it'll all be linked on our showing notes. And I just hope that we've reached somebody, whether they have curly hair or somebody that has an idea to just
Yeah,
go for it. Right.
go for it. Yeah, go for it. Make
I'm
the
so
calls, do the
impressed, and
research.
I respect you so much for doing this and going down this journey, as especially after a long career in corporate that you just were like took the shift and you're like, no, it doesn't matter. I'm going to solve this problem and I'm going to be successful at it.
Well, thank you so much. And I just
Yeah,
love that you do this and have given me the opportunity to come tell my
yeah,
story. And it's just
absolutely.
really enjoyed speaking with you. And I hope we get
Yes,
to chat again.
of course, absolutely. So everybody, just make sure to follow her support her on social media. And then please, if you have curly hair, go get this product and I will do an update, and just give me a little bit of time to purchase it and to work it. And then I will for sure do an update, because I am always on the lookout for a really good hair product.
All right. Thank you, Ashley.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Ashley Mastowski. Tune in next time for more inspiration and stories from women who've made an impact. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Special shout out to Little Dog Social Media for making all of this come together.